The evening lights of Seoul cast a golden glow across the city as the entrance of the Shilla Hotel became the center of gravity for both the press and a sea of fans. It wasn't just another charity gala. Whispers had been swirling all week that something extraordinary might happen tonight. The hall had been prepared for a fundraising event to support children's education. Crystal chandeliers reflecting warm light across tables adorned with white roses in elegant place settings. Reporters milled about, cameras ready, waiting for the night's most anticipated guests. Then, in a moment that felt almost cinematic, Jo In-sung appeared at the entrance, tall, composed, and wearing a tailored black suit that exuded effortless sophistication. A second later, Hyo-joo stepped into view in a cream-colored evening gown. Her hair swept elegantly to one side. But it wasn't just their appearance that sent a collective gasp through the room, it was the fact that their hands were clasped tightly together, fingers intertwined, and neither seemed inclined to let go. For 20 years, they had been each other's constants, companions through industry highs and lows, witnesses to heartbreaks and triumphs, friends who always seemed to find their way back to each other no matter how far life's currents had pulled them apart. And now, here they were, standing together not as co-stars, not as casual companions, but as a couple willing to face the world and confirm what fans had been suspecting for months, if not years. The room erupted in camera flashes. When Sung glanced at Hyo-joo with a smile so subtle yet so tender it spoke volumes. She returned the look with a kind of gaze that tells you everything you need to know about a person's heart. Their story began in 2005. Far from the opulence of hotel galas and red carpets. Back then, Jo In-sung was already carving out a name for himself on television with roles that showcased his emotional depth. While Hyo-joo was an emerging face in modeling, still dreaming about her big break in acting. The two were brought together for an autumn fashion shoot for the brand Crescentia. It was a brisk afternoon. The set buzzing with stylists, photographers, and assistants running around. But in the middle of it all, they found themselves laughing over a clumsy prop mishap involving a too large scarf and a wind machine. That moment of shared humor broke the ice. By the end of the shoot, discovered they both had a similar sense of humor. For late-night snacks, and an instinctive ease in each other's company. It was the start of a friendship that would span 2 decades. For the years, their paths often diverged. Jo In-sung's career took him to film sets across Asia. Blockbuster dramas like Something Happened in Bali to acclaimed works like That Winter, The Wind Blows. Hyo-joo, meanwhile, was building her own legacy with projects such as Dong-yi, Cold Eyes, and The Beauty Inside. Each experienced moments of immense public attention, but also periods of quiet, away from the spotlight. And through it all, they remained in touch. Sometimes weeks would pass without a word. Sometimes they would exchange messages late into the night, discussing scripts, life, or nothing of consequence at all. They were each other's safe place. Once described her in a 2012 interview. But why? Fans have often wondered. Did it take so long for them to move beyond friendship? The answer, as they would both later admit, lies in timing and fear of risking the rare bond they shared. Both had dated other people over the years, but the relationships never seemed to have the same stability, the same deep-rooted trust they had with each other. And yet, that same trust made them cautious. A romantic partner is one thing, losing your closest friend is another entirely. Their friendship wasn't passive. Actively showed up for each other's lives. Hyo-joo would send food trucks to Jo In-sung's filming locations, surprising not just him but the entire crew. He, in turn, was known to visit her sets, quietly bringing coffee for the team without making a spectacle of it. There were public moments too, a shared laugh on stage at an award ceremony, a knowing glance captured by cameras that sent fans into speculative frenzies. Still, they always maintained that they were just friends, leaving the rest to the imagination. That all began to change in 2023, when they were cast together in Disney Plus's Moving. It wasn't their first time working together, but this project came at a moment when both were more reflective about life, more certain of who they were and what they wanted. On set, the long hours and intense filming schedules became a space for them to reconnect on a deeper level. They found themselves lingering after shoots, in quiet corners, walking to their cars together long after the crew had left. Cast and crew members began noticing how naturally their conversations flowed, how often they smiled when the other's name was mentioned. The realization didn't come with fireworks or grand gestures, it was gradual. The kind of shift you only recognize when you're already standing in it. One night, after filming had wrapped for the season, we met at a small cafe overlooking the Han River. It was lit up in reflections on the water. Joe, in his typical understated way, half joked, "So, when do we admit we're more than friends?" Han didn't laugh it off. She just looked at him and said, "We already have." Even then, they didn't rush. They spent months quietly navigating this new layer to their relationship, testing the balance between romance and the friendship that had been their foundation for so long. They knew the public's reaction would be overwhelming, and they wanted to be certain before taking that step. End of 2024. There was no doubt left. They had weathered too much together to question it any longer. Choosing the Shilla Hotel charity gala for their public debut wasn't accidental. Both have long supported children's education initiatives, and they wanted their announcement to be tied to something meaningful. Just a media spectacle. In the press conference that followed their red carpet arrival, Joe spoke first. Voice steady but warm. "We've walked together as friends for half our lives," he said. "Now, we'll walk together as partners." Han, standing beside him, squeezed his hand and added with a soft smile, "It was worth it." The internet exploded within minutes. Hashtags bearing their names trended in South Korea, Japan, and across the globe. Fans posted side-by-side photos from their 2005 photoshoot and their appearance that night, marveling at how their expressions toward each other hadn't changed, only deepened. Industry colleagues filled social media with congratulatory messages. Clips of them from moving, as well as behind-the-scenes videos from unexpected business, resurfaced. Each moment now viewed through the lens of their newly confirmed romance. Their decision to go public after 2 decades wasn't just a gift to their fans, it was a declaration of the kind of love that doesn't rush, doesn't falter, and doesn't need to prove itself until both people are ready. As the gala wound down, they left the venue together, walking through the cool Seoul night, holding hands as they stepped into a waiting car. For those watching, it was the perfect closing scene, not the end of their story, but the start of a chapter that had been 2 decades in the making. And as the city lights faded behind them, one thing was clear: 20 years of friendship hadn't delayed love, it had prepared it.